Hello and welcome to WTF, where we help you transform food in your kitchen. I'm Janie.
I'm Roman.
Today we are talking all about koji. We're going to show you how to inoculate. And of course, for our recipe, we have a very special pudding that we're going to be covering, so definitely stick around. I think for koji, I know it's been big for quite a few years now, so we're not the first people to cover it.
Definitely
but I know that you're kind of new to it.
Oh, I'm very new to it.
It's been really exciting, like doing this discovery process. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you've learned about koji, how it works, and why is it so delicious?
So when we started, playing around with it here, I was like, all right, it's fermentation, whatever. It's pretty simple, in the explanation. What I did enjoy in this process was learning all about it, and not even realizing that it's in all this stuff, like mirin and soy sauce and even sake. I actually didn't know. Yeah, miso. I didn't even know that before starting to actually play around with this koji. So that was actually, some eye-opening stuff.
Yeah, so the techniques originally originated in Japan, and it does a great job of just breaking down whatever it's inoculated on. Today we're doing rice, but you could do like almost anything, I feel like. So we're going to be doing more of that in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
But it breaks down the starches and the proteins,
turns
and it
into
generates
aminos
enzymes.
and sugars. Oh man, and the flavors and the aroma that you get is super subtle but very complex. And I think and I think you can tell that because if you're you like soy or miso, for instance, you can tell that there's so many complex flavors in it, and like super umami bomb too.
Yeah. And if you want to learn all about that in-depth, Koji Alchemy is a great resource to get started.
Excellent.
But today we're just going to kind of show you the basics of how do you get started in this process and some of the things to watch out for, as Roman has learned over the past couple of weeks. So why don't we jump right into, how does koji work and how do you inoculate?
All right, so pretty simple. What we're going to do is we're going to inoculate some basmati rice, which we have right here soaking. It's very important to soak the rice. You want to get some of that phytic acid off of it, so that in turn will allow the spores to get into the rice. So once you do have that, I pre-did it, so I have the rice already soaked, clear, and then what you want to do is you want to steam the rice. You generally don't want to cook it in water because you don't want it to get too soggy.
Okay.
All right, so you want to kind of steam it like we're doing here for about 30 minutes to 40 minutes, and you just want to get it so that it's translucent when you break it open, and you could you kind of see through it. That will allow the spores to get right into it. So we're gonna just jump right into it.
All right, let's do it.
So let's do it. So we have our koji here. Right here is our bowl that we're gonna get our rice into. And we're not gonna do the whole thing. We'll save this for another koji experiment.
Ooh.
Now that we have our rice, 1 gram of koji spores to 1 kg of rice is all that you need.
Yeah.
And so it goes a long way. So with this package, I could probably make about 8 to 9 batches.
Yeah, so I don't know if you can see this, but this little bag here, this is our 10-gram size. So you're looking really at 10 kilograms of rice that you can, or other grains that you can inoculate, which is grams to pounds, like 22 pounds. So,
exactly.
So sometimes people are like, oh my God, so little. It's because you don't need any.
Exactly, and it goes a long way. Okay, so now that we have our rice steamed, ready to go, I'm gonna add this rice flour into our koji spores, and I'm gonna mix it up. Try to incorporate that. So when that's ready, I'm gonna put it into my sieve. Actually, first, before I even do that, I'm gonna get my gloves on. It's very important to be very clean when you're working any sort of fermentation, to be honest, because you don't want any of that bacteria to get in there, right? So bad bacteria, because there's also good bacteria and good mold.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna get this in here, and then we're just gonna tap that in there, and we're gonna try to get it all over. See how lightly this is being distributed, and then we'll turn it into it, and then we'll continue on. And we'll do this until all of our spores are in the steamed rice. Oh, I think a part that we did not mention was that it is very important to get this rice below 90 degrees before you start adding your spores into it. We didn't mention that, but I already had my thermometer in there and we got it down to 90.
Yeah.
That's
and what
very,
is the
very
reason
important
for that?
Because you'll kill the koji spores. So anything above 104 will begin to kill the spores. So you definitely want to make sure. And you know, in making koji, as I found, one of the most important things about the koji is keeping it at temperature. And so you want to make sure that you're keeping the eye on where you're at. All right.
That makes sense because this part doesn't seem that hard at all.
No, not at all. So now once that's incorporated, we're just going to give it a nice turn, and then we're going to get it into this container that we have. All right, so now that we have our rice ready to go, we have a bread proofer that we're going to put that into.
Yeah, so that's kind of the second part. You know, you had just mentioned how important it is to make sure that you're maintaining temperature.
Correct.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? So obviously here we have a bread proofer. Here we go. I'm just going to push that
Slide
over
that
here.
right over?
Yeah.
All right. And so, yeah, just like I said earlier, you want to make sure that that temperature is very consistent. Anything above 104 degrees is going to kill your koji spores. So what we're going to do here today is we're going to put our koji rice into our bread proofer. We also, I don't know if you can see it, but we also have a pan in there with water because we want to keep the humidity up also. And so we have a pan of water. We have that. I am a stickler for temperature. Being a chef and all, you know, I'm always in the kitchen. I'm always like watching things, and it's very important to make sure that your temperature is spot on. You know, you don't want to waste 3 days to kill your koji. I mean, you know, so I'm gonna turn that on.
Yeah, this isn't plugged in, so it's not coming up to temperature. But one of the things we want to talk about is obviously we already had this bread proofer, so we're able to multi-use it. But a lot of people don't have that. What are some of the other ways that they can use to control the temperature and the humidity?
Well, I've also tested doing it in a dehydrator. Preferably you would want a digital one because that'll keep the temperature. And the temperatures really do need to be specific. There is a small window, but all in all, you want to keep it around 90 degrees. You definitely want to keep it under 104.
Yeah, and I think I've seen people do it with a pilot light in the oven too.
Yeah, you do it. You could. The only thing about that is it is a 3-day process. So if you do want to use your oven, you're kind of like, yeah, what do you do? So I prefer this method if you don't have one of these, dehydrator. I've even heard some people put it into a one of those styrofoam coolers with a little bit of hot water in there. You know, that probably can work also. I think that would take a lot of initiative to keep checking on it. This way, you know you have a set temperature, you know what it's going to be, you know what you don't want it to be, so you can just like leave it in your proofer or your dehydrator, and you could just check it periodically.
Yes.
Okay, so 90 degrees is kind of where we set this at. We're not looking, sometimes if this will fall below, if you didn't properly inoculate your rice, it'll fall below 88, and if it does do that, you kind of want to check it because nothing's happening. If you see that you're getting black mold or red mold or something that's not white and fuzzy, I would chuck that. I would just get rid of that and start over. You're looking for a nice white fuzzy mold. Sometimes you'll get like a really light yellow kind of greenish mold. That means that your koji is starting to flower, and you kind of want to stop that process, retard it, because if it does flower, you know, you're not really going to get the best out of it. You want some nice fuzzy white spores, which is what you do. Generally, after 24 hours, you want to check your koji, kind of mix it up. If it is getting too hot, what you can do is you can set it into about 3 mounds. That gives it more surface space. That allows it to cool down faster. I would say 48 days is where you really start seeing things happening.
48 hours.
48 hours. Sorry, 48 days. I mean, a little bit too long. 48 hours, you start to see things happening. You start to see little bits of fuzz, little bits of white on top of your rice or barley if you're doing it that way. It's more pronounced in barley because it's brown. So you have to look really closely on white rice to see it happening. After 60 hours, you should be in full koji magic. You know, this is where it's happening. You're getting real thick fuzz around that rice, and then this is where I usually take it out, put it into the fridge. It is said that if you let your koji rice rest in the fridge for up until a day or two, the flavors get even more pronounced. So I usually do that, and then once that happens and you're done with that, you can then bag it up, and it lasts in your fridge for up to 3 months, in your freezer for about 6 months.
Yeah. And of course, we're going to set this aside to inoculate, but we have some that are already done, so we're going to reset the table, show you the finished koji, as well as work on our koji rice pudding recipe.
All right, we'll be back.
So now we have our beautiful koji, definitely close up right here on this fuzz. And then we were talking about, okay, what are we going to do with it, right? I mean, we're not going to be making our own soy sauce and mirin and miso at this moment. So we wanted to give you a recipe that you can easily do. We're tossing around rice ideas. I was like, how about a rice pudding? Because they're delicious.
Yeah.
So, and a spoiler alert, it was absolutely delicious. So we're going to share that recipe with you today.
Yep. Yeah, I do have to say, when we were coming up with the, what we're going to do with this koji rice, and I'll give you all the credit in the world because you suggested the rice pudding, I was like, all right. I mean, whatever, it's rice pudding. I do like rice pudding. Good rice pudding, not the Cozy Shack kind that you find in the market.
I love Cozy Shack. Don't hate on Cozy Shack. I love it. So
but I do love rice pudding, and so I was just like, all right, let's do it, let's make it. And to my surprise, we're gonna share this with you today. It came out amazing.
Yeah, because also a lot of times they're like, oh, everything is savory, right? It's
Yeah.
You think savory, so we want it to go sweet.
Exactly, and it actually worked out really great. So super simple recipe. We're gonna do it for you right now. You want to get yourself a pan ready to go, which we have, and we're gonna start off with our milk and get that into the pan.
All right, is that on, what temperature is that on?
That is on medium heat. Actually, you want to start it out at medium heat, and then you want to get it down to a simmer once you've added your rice. I just added my sugar, just your regular white sugar, and you want to blend that into the milk while it's getting up to temperature. And then once you could actually add your koji rice right now. I like to make sure that sugar is broken down and melted into the milk, and then I will go ahead and add my koji rice right into it right now, and we will start the process. All right, so medium heat. You want to get it high. You want it to start to come to a hard simmer. I have it right now at 350 on my control freak. And once that starts to bubble, we will take it down to about 211, just under your rolling boil.
Okay.
And we'll let that simmer a little bit. Usually it takes about anywhere from 25 to 30 minutes. And then it'll be at the texture that we want it.
Yeah. So very little active time. If you're like, this sounds like a very basic pudding recipe, that's because it is.
It's super basic.
Yeah, and what's making it different right now is the koji.
I mean, the koji alone is everything about this dish.
And one of the cool things, since this will be simmering, of course we're not going to show you like 20 minutes of simmering, so we're going to let this simmer and we'll be back with some pudding.
All right.
All right, we're just about ready with our pudding. And remember, if you love this episode or any of our other content, remember to subscribe, like, so that we can keep this channel going. It's all for you. All right.
All right, so now our koji is ready. We're ready to give it a taste. All right, so let's get our bowls ready.
Got a couple little bowls.
Nice little bowls. Beautiful. Get that there, and as you can see, that is like where we want it. That's like beautiful. All right, so let's get some of that. Koji and rice pudding is into the bowl. I can't help to say koji into the bowl. Hey, rice pudding is rice pudding, but koji highlighted. All right. So I want to taste this without anything on it.
Okay.
So
same.
let's have that and see where we're at.
I mean, it's nice and creamy.
Very creamy.
Oh, hot.
Yep.
Oh, this is so good.
That is like every time I mean, this is not the first time we're tasting this, so but every time I taste it, I feel like it's the first time that I'm tasting it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like, it's just still mind-blowing that you're getting all those subtle flavors, little bits of umami here and there without, any seasoning. I mean, there's sugar in there, but that's about it. And it's incredible.
So in a regular rice pudding, basically the sugar becomes the highlight of that show,
Right.
and then you put like a whole bunch of stuff on it to dress it up and make it more complex.
Exactly.
In this case, you really don't need any of that because the sweetness is there, but then you're getting like these kind of savory tones, you're getting umami, you're getting like so much complexity that
I even get a little ginger in there, which is weird.
Oh, yeah,
right?
you're
You
so
get a
right.
little ginger in there. It's crazy. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it tastes like you seasoned it really complicatedly, but you haven't done anything. Really.
No, you just added the koji, which speaks volumes of how much that little mold gives things.
Yeah.
I mean, the flavor is just amazing. It's just amazing. I just
So now I want to try it with a little bit of, with just like a little bit. I don't like raisins. I'm going to skip the raisins.
Me too.
All right.
Me too.
I don't know why we put it out. Nobody likes them.
I thought maybe somebody would.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
Doesn't need
just
that
like
much. Just a little bit.
like
Just
a tiny little
a
bit.
tiny little bit. I got cinnamon here too, but I'm not a huge fan of cinnamon on my rice pudding, honestly.
Yeah. And also, as we were simmering, we were all like, "Oh my God, it smells so good in here!" And if you're a candle maker, make koji scented candles.
Oh, dude.
'Cause
Oh my
I
God.
would buy it.
I would definitely buy it. Yeah, I mean, even with the as much as nutmeg could completely overpower certain things in amounts, the koji still stands above it.
Yeah, this
Flavor-wise.
is absolutely delicious. We are super happy with how this came out. You can get the full recipe in the links in the description below. And we'll also link to some other episodes we did about koji if you want to kind of get more into that.
Yep, we'll be doing
and
a
learn
few.
more about different ones. So until next week, from here in the Modernist Pantry Test Kitchen, I'm Janie.
And I'm Roman. Oh, should I have some right here? Yeah?
You're like, I gotta strike the pose. Hold on.
All right, okay.